So MFR Detti is on standby with the panelists to bring you the news review segment. But before that, let me take you through what's making the headlines in our newspapers this morning. And if you take the publisher this morning, the top story is Gapoha Turf War, DG vs Port Director. Well, find that story in page 2 of the publisher. Also, boost Africa's digital ID push. That's on page 6 of the publisher. NPP slams reckless chairman. Read that story on page 3 of the paper. And water crisis looms. That's according to Senyo Hosi. And also KGL chair pushes Africa to build global business giants. That story is on page 2 of the publisher. We'll move on to check out other stories making the headlines. Daily Graphic, for instance, has Ghana Galamsey fight, water bodies, forest reserves, now security zones. Find that story on page 3 of the Daily Guide. ECG terminates 202 contract for underperformance. That story is on page 52 of the paper. And also Mansa Nete, Orleans Lindsay win topmost CIMG awards. That's in page 13 of the newspaper. And First Sky Boss rally support for 15 million Ghana cedis. I'm missing the details at the very bottom, but I'm sure you can find that story in page 13 of the Daily Graphic if that interests you. Let's check out the back of the paper. Well, it says UDS makes history, win FISU World Cup football. That's sports related. And so if you're a big fan of sports, you know where to find that story. Also, under 20 Women's World Cup qualifiers, Black Princesses sweep aside Tunisia to advance. That story is also in the Daily Graphic. Let's check out some of the stories making the headlines in our papers today. And the Daily Democrat, the top story on the Daily Democrat says, Jakpa fight Godfrey Dame for the truth. Well, he's petitioned the CID. I know that he's seeking for Mr. Godfrey Dame, the former Attorney General, to be charged with 2 offenses. MFR and her panelists will take you through the details of that story. Also, Trasacco assures stability in ongoing Tamalan dispute. That story is on page 2 of the Daily Democrat. Also, KGL boss champions public-private partnerships for growth. Find that story in page 7 of the newspaper. Also, PTA crucial for education. That's according to the Education Minister, Mr. Haruna Idrisu. If you're a fan of education as well, you know what to do. The Custodian has a top story. It says Ghanaians now drink Galamsey polluted water. That's according to the NPP's Miracles Abuaji. Well, that's on the heels of his recent visit to the Kwenyako water treatment plant, which has been shut down due to, some water sources in the area heavily polluted due to the illegal mining activities. And that's also led to the water shortages in some, 11 districts in the area. Find that story in page 3 of the Custodian. There's an interesting story here, which I'm sure MFR will take you through that as well. It's an Islamic cleric warning that stop reckless marriages and giving birth by heart. Whatever he means by heart, I'm sure MFR would get into the details of that. Build global businesses giants in Africa. Another story by KGO boss, the African leaders. Must be really important because it has appeared, I think, in 3 papers. And so, yeah, you should check it out in the Custodian. And NPP promises free, fair presidential primaries. That's by Justin Kodia. That's the General Secretary of the NPP. Denmark margins build alliance. I missed that story by a second, but it's fine. I'm sure when you pick that newspaper, you'd find details. In the Business and Financial Times, we have port reforms hinge on transparency, not just expansion. Transport Ministry acknowledges concerns, draft LI to operationalize Shippers Act. That story is on page 3 of the Business and Financial Times. And on the economy, we have 5th IMF review takes off this week. If you want details of that story, find that on page 2 of the newspaper. And also, Vice President visits Ghana Garden and Flower Show, engages exhibitors and innovators. That story is on page 3 of the Business and Financial Times. And also future of media. Oh, if you could go back to the previous story, Director, that's an interesting story I found there by the Communications Minister, Sam George. It says future of media hinges on compliance, innovation, and collective reforms. I know that he has also been calling for social media to be regulated the same way traditional media is being regulated. I wonder what the New Media Association has to say about that. But find that story in page 2 of the Business and Financial Times. Nzema Manle Rural Bank posts impressive operational performance, posts 511% growth in profit before tax. Shareholders get 5.3%, 34%, I beg your pardon, returns on 0.01 Ghana cedis per share price. Find that story at the back of the Business and Financial Times. Let's check out more. We have more stories making the headlines in our papers this morning. In the Daily Guide, also, we have no one has, I think I read the story, Justin Kudia saying no one has monopoly over album compilation. Well, that's on the heels of the Bunu Regional Chairman, Abonye DC, stating that he is responsible for compiling the regional albums ahead of the, their primaries, their presidential primaries in January 2026. And as such, is going to ensure that a lot of people or some individuals are not included in the voting process. However that is true, well, we get to find out. But MFA, like I said, is on standby with her panelists to take you into the details of these headlines. MFA, take it.
Thank you so much, Nola, darling. Thank you. That's very well done. We at least know what's happening in the newspapers. You make your choice. Which one has your attention? But this morning, we're joined by Wanda Madilo, development analyst and member of NDC Communications team, and as well Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, head of trading, Melbourne Capital. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Yes. Head of finance,
yes,
are you?
No trading.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How was your weekend? I'll deal with you before I go to the politicians.
All right, sure.
How was your weekend?
Well, my weekend was okay.
Okay.
I did a few travels. I came back to Accra in later part of the day.
Okay.
So it was largely fruitful.
Okay. Did anything in the news have your attention, or did you observe anything that
you'd
like to comment on?
Yes. As an industry player, IMF guys are in town. They will be reviewing our books today. I think they will be in town for 2 weeks. Just recently, the World Bank also said that the economic crisis that we witnessed in 2022 down to 2024 was not attributable to the Russian-Ukraine war and also the COVID-19. And so I'm sure all these issues will come up during the IMF review within the next 2 weeks. It is interesting to note that I think we have been to the IMF for 17 times, and once they are able to review the books and everything is okay, they will be giving us another tranche that is $360 million, and that is going to go a long way to boost our reserve. And so as an industry player, we are actually looking at how the review process will go and what the outcome will be. But considering what changes that we have witnessed since the inception of this government, as industry players, we have seen that we have made significant strides, and that may impact positively on the review.
Right. When I come back to you again, we'll go a little further in this IMF fifth review. And what is in it for Ghana? For you, if you just look at it on the face of it, what are some of the things they're likely to see that they will be impressed with? Are we threatened by this $360 million at all?
Well, I don't think so. If you look at, they are basically going to look at our economic, financial, and macroeconomic indicators. If you realize that this government took inflation from 23.8%, currently inflation is at 11.5%. The monetary policy rate of Bank of Ghana was also around 28%. Now it's around 21.5%. you have also realized that the debt stock of the country has also significantly reduced. And so when you look at on the face of it, most of the macroeconomic indicators are improving. I mean, we have enjoyed, yes, we have enjoyed relative stability of the Ghanaian cedi. At a point, the Ghana cedi was the best performing cedi in the world. So I'm sure they will take all these factors into consideration before marking our script to see whether we have passed or not.
At least that's comforting to hear. In the next two weeks, we won't be sitting on the fence. But let me also introduce to you Awal Mohammed. He is communication aide Bamia campaign. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, I see that you were on fire over the weekend, advancing some good arguments with my colleague Blessed Soga. We'll get into a lot more of the things that you were raising over there. But wonder, how's your weekend been? Has it been eventful, cool? Sometimes when you look very coy and shy, I feel like you've come with a certain okay. How was your weekend and what has your attention?
It's been very eventful work, and then a few funerals here and there. I was due to travel, but I had to call it off.
Where were you going?
I was going outside the country, but I wasn't feeling too right, so I just...
You were not feeling right in your body or in flights and all of that?
Everything not feeling well, so I just called it off.
It's interesting because it's only when you...
I was supposed to be in Ketu South. Again, that one too I called off. So.
Okay, then I was about to just advance another part of the argument that if you were going to Konongo and going to outside the country, that these are two different feelings. So not feeling right there, you have my attention.
Just didn't sit with me to step out of Accra.
Okay.
There were a lot of offers. I was supposed to be in Sogakope, Akosombo. I still turned it down and all that.
But are you all right, though?
I'm fine. No,
okay, what in the news has your attention?
No, I'm excited to hear that finally the IMF, the World Bank, are beginning to agree that the crisis we suffered under President Akufo-Addo and his able leadership, Bawumia, who is seeking to tell another story to Ghanaians. It's not true that Ukraine, Russia, and all the COVID were the only reason for which they failed this country woefully. Inflation to 54%.
I've never heard them say that those are the only reasons why they...
That's what they said.
I've never heard that.
Oh, that's it. In fact, I even saw COVID on his paper.
That is his notes. Don't do that. Give him back his notes.
That's electricity.
Then you didn't write it well. So they are always excited to mention COVID, Russia, Ukraine, the president himself, Dr. Bawumia himself. It became the mantra of the day that Russia, Ukraine was the reason Ghana collapsed. And that it was a global phenomenon. They will quote other countries. They will quote UK, quote France, quote their inflation rate to back it up and all that. Never going for the likes of Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, just very close to us, Togo. They don't go for those figures because it doesn't look good in those figures. Now we're beginning to know. And we have always stated at that time that corruption was reckless spending was one of the reasons why the government went into what they went into. The borrowing. Look, borrowing. Bank of Ghana went bankrupt. They were recording negative because of these people. So I'm not too... we have never been excited about those explanations. And to God be the glory. Now we're beginning to know the real facts of the matter. That's what caught my attention.
That's what caught your attention. Well, Awal.
Thank you so much.
You have had an eventful week. What has your attention?
I have been around because usually weekends I go to Kumasi. This weekend I didn't go.
So I was manipulating registers.
Restful weekend. After Saturday, throughout the Sunday, I have been home and I went to Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park in the evening. Since President Akufo-Addo gave it the facelift, yesterday was my first time to go there. And
you randomly just wanted to visit there?
Yes.
They were comparing
I was just at home, then I decided to just go there and see for myself. But I've been passing there when I was going to the court when Abronye was sent there. I passed there. So I decided that one day if I don't go to Kumasi, I'll pass. And I went there and I think I was very excited.
Okay.
But just a quotation from President Mahama. COVID-19 erased 2 decades of poverty reduction. This is Mahama admits at UN General Assembly, myjoyonline.com. So you see, President Mahama has even gone a notch higher, not what we usually say, that it's part of the reasons why the economy had challenges. But President Mahama has said that 2 decades of poverty reduction, COVID-19 has erased it. So it should tell you that indeed what we're saying, we have been vindicated by the same President Mahama. This is something that he said 3 days ago. Not really something that he has said maybe about a year or something ago, but this is just 3 days ago, he admitting that what we're saying at a point in time, that COVID-19, Russia, Ukraine, and some few other challenges were the reasons where we were at that time. And again, he, as an economist, will tell you that indeed the economy was on a right footing before this government took over. Because when you check the inflation, he mentioned 54. 54 was in December 2022. From that time, it came down up to the 23%. So it didn't really go up again. From then, it came down. Again, when you check all the economic fundamentals, before we left off, it was coming down, and the IMF and the World Bank predicted that indeed we may even end this year with the single-digit inflation. This is something that we have started. You didn't really inherit. You inherited an economy that was picking up, that has turned the corner.
Okay.
Yes, that is what you...
Let me go to Nelson, especially because Nelson, they crunch the numbers. They understand the economy better. And it gets a bit some way if you're dealing with the politicians, right? Sure. So I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, sure.
So President Mahama, yes, has quoted that COVID really took some decades of poverty reduction from our country.
Africa.
From Africa.
Yes, he never said Ghana. He said Africa.
Which will include Ghana, will it not?
Yes, yes. So
okay.
He was talking a continental problem.
I think that we have made quite a light of this COVID impact. Russia-Ukraine impact. I'll take it from you, the third parties, that indeed, when the NPP says that it had a major impact on the economy, are they exaggerating it? Are they saying it as it was, or they're just being political about it?
Well, to answer this question, we need to do analysis in time and in space. By doing analysis in space, we are doing a comparison between the Ghanaian economy at the time and our neighbors within the sub-region. In any case, the COVID actually led to the total shutdown of the economy. We were not working. I mean, it's only essential staff who were working. But, I mean, a lot of companies, they closed down. That was the lockdown period, and that actually impacted negatively on the economy. But COVID-19 came in 2019. Now, when the COVID came, I think the World Bank and the IMF actually released some funds to countries. I think Ghana was a beneficiary of that fund. And that fund was supposed, as it were, to help cushion the economy. But you realize that the managers of the public purse then, in fact, the report that the World Bank released actually mentioned one thing. It said uncontrolled public spending. You see, I've always been saying that managing a country is just like managing a company. Now, when you are managing a company, you need revenue to manage the company. You also need to incur expenses in order to, produce whatever income or profit you want to, produce. And so to the extent that the manager or the managing director of that company is spending uncontrollably, it will technically affect the fundamentals of the company. Now, when you bring that to, the normal government country money, it's the same thing. You need taxation to actually run your economy, but the tax revenue is not coming. Your economy was shut down as a result of the COVID. And as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war, certain things were also not being done. So that will technically have an effect on the economy. But the central question that we need to ask is, what was the management of the economy then? The reason why we say we are doing the analysis in space, in order to compare what the status of the economy was at the time and what it was in other neighboring countries. I think our economy at that time was not really managed, well, because before the COVID came, our debt level had already ballooned. And so there was no fiscal or breathing space for us to go and borrow. You get it? So in terms of the management, yes, as an industry player, I would say that the economy was not well managed at the time. Then another issue that is worth talking about at the time was the fact that the expenditures that were being incurred at the time. In fact, when you read the report, the World Bank said that about $4.1 billion was incurred outside the official financial management system, and that was a lot. 4.1 billion, not Ghana cedis, dollars. That was significant. So we could say that, yes, even though the impact was there, we cannot totally attribute the impact to the COVID and then the Russia-Ukraine war, but the qualitative aspect of it, which is the managers of the economy at the time, which was the tone at the top at the time, significantly contributed to the economic erosion that we had.
Can we corroborate this with what the World Bank says and the advice they give in this current government, saying that, importantly, the new administration should refrain from a hasty return to the Eurobond market, which will be interpreted by international investors as the easy way out. Another thing as well caught my attention, said the government should focus on strengthening the country's fiscal and growth fundamentals and on convincing the private sector, both in the real and financial sectors, that public debt is on a sustainable path. It says that adherence to the medium-term debt management strategy, MTDS, and full transparency of the annual borrowing plan are essential.
Sure.
The most pressing priority is to establish enduring credibility by maintaining the momentum on fiscal consolidation to achieve fiscal sustainability and avoid premature access to the Eurobond. This will, at least, if it says that refrain from a hasty return to the Eurobond, in a very simple, for somebody watching me now, in very simple English, what do they mean?
Going back to the international capital market should not be an option for now. One, seal the leakages in revenue, mobilize enough domestic revenue, and control your expenditure. In fact, I was saying it on another television station the other day that fiscal prudence is key in managing an economy. Because if your total revenue is 10 Ghana cedis and you are spending 15 Ghana cedis, where are you getting the money from? You get it?
Yeah.
And always you realize that every year we keep on, outweighing or overpassing our revenue target, but we continue registering a fiscal deficit every year. So I think that this is not the time to go back to the international capital market. We need to manage our debt to the extent that our debt to GDP ratio should be within the internationally accepted, framework. Now, treasury bill rates are coming down, which is good for the government, but bad for you and I. Because now if you have 100,000, you want to invest in the 91-day treasury bill, you'll be getting a little, about 10%. But that will also cut down significantly government borrowing costs. So what the statement simply means is that we shouldn't go back to borrow from the international capital market for now. Let's concentrate within the domestic economy, mobilize enough domestic revenue, and if there is a need, we continue to mobilize our debt in the Ghana cedis.
Okay. Awal, so as a country, I recall, let's get into the visa and the restrictions that have been lifted, right? It must be exciting to you, because at least for Ghanaians who really want multiple entries in a number of periods, not just shortened like the way they wanted earlier, you'd be celebrating the good works of the current foreign minister, would you not? Are you not excited about it, at least?
Thank you so much. But before that, let me just say something about the economy.
Okay, quickly, yeah.
Just a quick one on when he said that, well, before COVID-19, there was reckless expenditure and so on, right? I'm sure if I...
we all know, yeah, we all know.
If I'm quoting you well.
Well, I said before the COVID came...
It's not your word.
There were some challenges.
There were some challenges, not reckless, some challenges.
That is true.
How will you
because
reckless?
after COVID, just after COVID, we first received the drawdown from IMF in August 2021. So between 2019 and 2021, we did not go into the market to take anything from the market. So it means within that 2 years, if we didn't have buffer, Ghana will have faced significant challenges.
And this was 2020. You say if you didn't have 2021.
Yes, between 2019 when we shut down the economy and 2021 August, that was when we received the money from the IMF. It means that within that period, we're managing the economy. And again, even within that period, the economic fundamentals were good. It was in January 2022, when you even check January 2022, the CD to the dollar was around 5.1 or so. It was in February when the Russia-Ukraine struck that it started moving up. and inflation was around 40.
I think when I hear economists and financial experts speak, they are not ruling out the Russia-Ukraine war entirely.
Yes.
Neither are they also ruling out COVID and its impact.
Yes.
I think they seem to suggest that what you needed, the amount of borrowing in trying to curb the situation was a bit more.
So
that's the
you see,
just a small understanding.
Before the COVID-19, the economy was moving on a right trajectory.
It's not in debate.
We had everything on in the point. So when Russia-Ukraine came, when COVID-19 came, we decided to do heavy investment on health after the COVID-19.
So that the borrowing and the spending is justified.
Exactly so, because you see, we started.
And why would the World Bank be advising
hospitals
that the current government shouldn't quickly go?
Yeah, because at this point in time,
it doesn't need it.
No, we have taken the economy to some level that we had gone for debt reliefs, which in December we had some debt reliefs, and again, we are not paying some of our obligations that we have shifted to 2027 and 2028. So definitely you cannot just go to the market to really borrow again. You will have to really do a lot of homegrown policies to be able to. So what I'm saying is that effectively, at that point in time, indeed, we did not anticipate that COVID will come. So we did heavy investment. We finished we were financing the free senior high school. We did a banking cleanup, which took a lot of money from the economy. Then the 111 hospitals that we started.
Is this the message
roads
for Dr. Bawumia? Is this the message he's going to be going out with? I mean, I'm jumping the gun, but yes. Is this his message that justifiably every amount of money?
We will have to work on what we had done in the last 8 years. The NDC government in the last 9 months cannot even boast of a single project that they had done. Again, what they can only boast of is that we're paying electricity at 18.5% cumulatively this year.
Is it their fault?
My salary has been increased by just 10%. The public sector workers...
But the PRCU and the statutory law, which they used to implement this adjustment, existed way before they came to power.
Yes, but last year, we did 6.3% cumulatively for the year. We did 25% increment in the salaries of public sector workers. This year, they are doing 18.4% in electricity and 10% adjustment.
Can they genuinely do much? Can the government do much? Of course, now, you know that everything they do seems to be embedded in the request and requirements of IMF.
You see, the government is not even spending. That's the reason I'm telling you.
Do they have money?
Yes,
they
because,
spend?
but they voted monies for projects and they have not spent. Because, for instance, if you check all the youth policies that the president had launched, the Ejumapa, what's the name? Ejumapa, the Codes, Ejumura, the Codes, and
this morning
and the entrepreneurship. You see, when the minister came to Parliament, the monies he voted for them in the media budget, the money he voted for them,
they are not spending.
He didn't even give them up to 20%. None of the policies had even got up to 20%, and they were supposed to spend within this year.
So the money,
the money is supposed to be there for them to spend, but he's not releasing it.
Where's the money?
He's not releasing it.
It says that the government is not.
You know, sometimes when we put out information, let's be clear in our mind what we are doing.
So I'm saying that.
Hold on.
No, let me be clear so that you understand. I'm saying that the finance minister, beginning of the year, when he went and read the budget, he said this year he will give certain amounts of monies to these projects. He voted amounts of money to the project for the year.
Yes.
And I'm saying that there's none of the 3 projects that the president had launched that he has given them up to 15%, up to 20% of the amount of money that he's supposed to release. This is contained in the media budget that he came with. That is why I'm saying that the government is not even spending on the projects that they have even launched. It's the reason you see the economy standing, you see the inflation being controlled because there is no much money in the system.
Okay, Wanda,
so
before you come in,
contractors and so on. That is the reason.
Okay. Before you come in, Wanda, is this the case when a government is not spending? You see that it is a way to massage the inflation rate. Is this it?
All right. So, in economics, there are 2 policies that government can decide to implement based on the circumstance of the moment. Government can decide to embark on what you call a contractionary fiscal policy, where the government would decide not to spend in order to tame down on inflation. Government can also decide to embark on what you call an expansionary economic policy, where government wants to spend in order to, boost productivity, create jobs, and the rest. Now, and these decisions are not based on emotion. They are decisions that are based on sound economic principles.
Okay.
You realize that this government actually inherited an overheated economy. And so when your body is heat, you need to drink water to cool
off, yeah?
Yes, isn't it? And so the prudent economic policy for the government to embark on is the contractionary economic policy, which they started implementing since they came into office. Now, the assumption that the government is not spending is not entirely true. I'm not saying it's not true, but it's not entirely true. The reason being that most of the statutory payments, the District Assembly's Common Fund, the National Health Insurance, all those statutory payments, I think they are not in. We haven't heard from you guys in the news that they are in arrears.
We haven't, yeah.
They are actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so clearly, you realize that government is spending, but I think they are spending on the essential things that matter for now.
Okay.
But regarding the relationship between spending and inflation, as I did indicate, when you are not spending, you are not provoking any economic activity. And to that extent, you expect the inflation to tame down. However, the downward trend in the inflation that we are witnessing is not actually attributable to only the government not spending, but it's actually as a result of Bank of Ghana's also intervention in the market. I mean, once you are enjoying, stable currency, you expect that to translate into, Bank of Ghana adopts so many tools to control inflation. In fact, controlling of an inflation or stability of prices is the prerogative of the Bank of Ghana, the central bank of every country. What they do is that when there is too much money in the system, Bank of Ghana must use what you call monetary policy tools to absorb the money from the system. And once you are absorbing money from the system, you are also curbing down on inflation. And so we can say that, or we can attribute the disinflationary pressure to the policies being implemented by the Bank of Ghana and also the fiscal consolidation measures, the contractionary fiscal policy by the Ministry of Finance.
Makes sense. Thank you for bringing clarity.
It looks like I'm not on the show.
You're on the show. You have the floor.
We've been going back and forth.
You have the floor.
And a lot of misinformation
You have the floor.
from Awal. It is not true.
That's what?
The government is not spending. I mean, the economy would have collapsed by now. Because about 70% of the expenditure patterns in this country is by the government of Ghana.
I don't think he meant that you're not spending
That's
entirely.
what he said.
He says that
I
some
mentioned
of the projects
areas that you have not spent.
Yes, yes. He mentions, to be fair on him, to be fair on him.
The MPP does not determine where, how, and when we spend.
No, but it's not the NPP that's determined.
You went to Parliament.
Listen to me.
I'm listening to you. I'll give you the floor.
That.
We'll make progress if you don't also listen to me.
Go ahead.
So I'm saying that some of the things that he has said is true. The finance minister was in Parliament. He didn't read the budget to only NPP. He read it to the whole of Ghana. All right, and earmarked a certain amount of money that this is what they're going to be spending on projects. Awal specifically says that the government is not spending on those projects, and this is why it's cushioning them. I've just had some education from our expert here that it's not a strange way to run an economy. So I can't see why you're saying that he's disinforming people.
I am saying clearly, and I'm going to take my time to say it again.
Okay.
But if you go on TV and you tell Ghanaians that government is not spending, what do you mean? That's one. The government set out several projects to do, and there are timelines for those projects. Let's take, for instance, the 24-hour economy. We didn't come to government for only 1 year, or 6 months, or 8 months. There's a project. It's a project that has a timeline of spending. And so when we get there, we spend. Number two, he says the government is not spending, but he has forgotten that the debt they left in the energy sector was cleared by this government.
No, it has not been cleared.
He's forgotten. Maturing debt. I mean, debt has maturity. Debt does have maturity. You don't expect that we're coming to government to come and take care of all the debt within the sector. There are debts that were matured, for which reason the IPP, the independent power producers, were
cleared it. That's why I'm saying that you have not cleared it.
It's because we cleared it, that's why they are producing. They were threatening to shut down. That was cleared. We talked about the big push program. And all the roads that they've left behind and not finished. You talk about the Pokwasi Sawan project is still ongoing. Has it come to an end? It's because the contractor has been paid. How much?
No, but you were here the last time. You recall that the former roads minister mentioned that the amount of money that was made available for that was spent and where you see that project is exactly what that money was meant for. Any other spending knows what I'm just quoting.
But how does this take away what I'm
because
saying? I'm saying that.
If you say that,
if you say government is not spending, it means that projects have come to an end. And I'm saying that that project is going on without any hesitation. It's because government is spending.
But you're not saying that they have cleared any debt on that one as well, right?
Of course, that project has been cleared. 79 billion, 14 billion is what is going to that project as we speak. So he shouldn't sit on TV and say, even as at two
was it an arrears that was accrued?
2 weeks ago, the arrears that accrued was 79 billion, 79 million Ghana cedis. And he knows that very well. So all that is ongoing. Now, number two, I am saying that the Temamutu project is still ongoing. Have we stopped it? It was under their tenure. And that is going on without any sweat. The Adenta to Dodowa all the way to Kong is still ongoing. Have we stopped it? We haven't stopped it. And new projects have been cut from new projects. From Ho to Aflau, Ho to what's the other bypass? All those ones are ongoing. No. The big push. Listen, the big push project is ongoing, and he himself is a government appointee. Is he?
Government appointee.
Is he?
I'm not a government. I'm a public servant.
No, but you work with the government.
I'm a public servant.
No, I'm just putting it to a test. As your salary stop, if you go on the tangent that government is not spending and we're doing contractionary measures, sometimes even contractionary measures, salaries are cut off. Salaries are cut off. Is the salary being cut off? No. He still benefits from whatever he was benefiting from when his government was in power. So don't sit on TV and tell everybody that government is not spending, government is not spending. You had an uncontrolled expenditure during your tenure to the extent that even the Bank of Ghana had to give you about 20 billion Ghana cedis just to support your budget. And he thinks that from 2019 to 2021, they had not borrowed. It's not true. Between 2019 to 2021 was when they went to the COVID Eurobond market or whatever they call it, COVID support or whatever, and borrowed $3 billion.
I mentioned the drawdown.
Hold on. It was within the same period that they had collected from the Bank of Ghana the 20 billion, which we said was money printed. So if you
between 2019 and 2021.
Yes, if you sit and you tell us that we didn't go back to the market, we never borrowed, we did zero financing and all that, it's not true. The reason for which the economy crashed was because of their uncontrolled expenditure. If somebody writing just agency of this country is spending over 540 million Ghana cedis in the name of corruption, and all the leakages we are seeing today, the COVID funds that have been brought, we can't even speak to it. Listen, under their tenure, even in support of COVID, if indeed COVID was the only reason or one of the reasons why the economy collapsed, they had introduced a COVID tax, which we've been paying till today, just in the name of supporting COVID or the impact of COVID on our economy. To the extent that even the Frontiers project, Frontiers whatever project at the airport. So today we can't even tell what government realized. It was around the same time that their so-called PDS thing failed. They were going for the Japan and all that. So don't sit on TV and make it look as though under your tenure it was so, very well. You have done so well, and the NDC came to inherit a very, good economy. We inherited nothing, and they know that very, very well.
What did the president mean when he said that COVID indeed?
The president was talking global. First of all, he was talking global, and if you realize most of the things he talked about Africa. He even talked about repatriations. He talked about how that people have come to the continent, slavery and all that. In the light of that, then he mentioned that COVID had a devastating effect on the economies of Africa, and that 2 decades, which is 20 years of poverty reduction, has been eroded. Now, and that is true. We can't take that away from anybody. What the NDC has spoken about under COVID was that reckless expenditure. We have indicated that over and over. In fact, in almost every project the NPP did, it was about reckless expenditure. Even the collapse of the banks was reckless expenditure. You needed 9 billion to fix the bank. You spent over 24 billion in collapsing them. Jobs were lost. Revenues, even to the state, along those lines, were also off. So the president, when he was speaking at the UN, talked about the devastating effects of COVID. And you remember that when COVID struck us, part of the challenges we had was infrastructure. And the infrastructure was in shortfall. It's the reason why they launched the Agenda 11 project, which they never launched any, which none worked, which none was operational by the time they were leaving office. So all those expenditures culminated in poverty. And it was also because of their government. Now, one of the hospitals that came to their aid at the time COVID struck was the UGMC, University of Ghana Medical Center, which was even built by the John Dramani Mohammed government.
Yes.
Even,
but we completed it.
Look at this. Did you hear what he said?
That's true.
But it's only fair because you also mentioned the road that's happening.
No, he said no.
The project was 2011.
Government with John
built by Mahama. Let's say, let Ghanaians understand.
Oh, please, what's your rebuttal?
Okay, so
the rebuttal is that it's built.
Just a quick one. Just a quick one. He mentioned the big push.
Even if you don't want to give credit to the John Mahama administration for what has happened within this period. And I'm so shocked, I'm so embarrassed to hear them say that, oh, you haven't done anything, the economy is just responding by itself. Why didn't you respond for the 8 years that you were in government? If it takes only not spending money, okay, to get the economy back on its footing,
that was COVID.
Why didn't you do that?
That was COVID.
COVID was in 2020, 2021. They left government in 2024. So for all the time that they were in office, why didn't all these things happen?
The impact
inflation,
of this is...
by the time they were leaving office, was almost 24%. At what rate did they take it even before they came to government? It was at 18 when they came in 2020, in 2016, 2017, when they took over office. It was what was the rate? 18%. They went as far as 54%. In fact, we've even had professors in the US who were giving us more accurate data than the MPP was giving us. So don't sit. I mean, it's too early for Ghanaians to hear that you are beginning to gloat over some of these things. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But they suffered the impact of your government, of your reckless government, whilst you were in office. 8 years.
Okay.
8 years.
Okay. I'll let you land.
Yes.
Awal, you will respond to a few things, but I'm going to... We'll go to the foreign...
Because which one? He mentioned big push. He said, oh, COVID-19... we left, was in 2019, we left office in 2024. One of the reasons you have not been able to even remove the COVID tax, that you even said it in your manifesto, is that you know that the COVID-19, but why haven't you been able to remove it? Why haven't you been, you said within 100 days you will remove it.
No, you don't get
hold on, I'm coming. You mentioned big push. According to the media review, you voted 13.8 billion and there was zero allocation. Again, on the CODES program, you mentioned it was allocated 100 million. It was also zero. Women's Development Bank, 51.3. Zero.
No, I don't understand.
You allocated an amount of money, but expenditure...
Why is it a problem?
It is a problem because you see,
and I'll come to you
within a year,
yes.
You projected that you do 1, 2, 3, 4 to make the economy better. You said you do big push, and the big push is road infrastructure and some few other things. According to the finance minister, beginning of the year, he said they are voting 13.8 billion for the
Agreed. Even if it was.
I'm saying that. Okay. So in the media, he is supposed to give us the update of where the economy has gone to and the actual expenditures and so on. And I'm saying that on the big push that he's mentioning, he's still talking like he is in opposition because nothing has been expended within the big push.
Why is it a problem?
It's a problem because we have not seen the real project that you said you do with it.
Does that mean that it's everything we're enjoying now is artificial?
No, I'm coming. Just to end.
Not you. Just to end
so that the expert. Just to end so that the expert can do it. On the Ejumaura that I mentioned, Ejumaura, according to the minister, he said they allocated 100 million. They were able to give 34.5. That is the highest in terms of the project that for that we give him that credit. Again, it's about 30% or 34%.
We have to move to other topics, but
national apprenticeship, finally, 300 million. He gave only 21 million.
Okay.
It's not even up to 15%.
Okay. We have just been learning that a government can choose a certain way of spending or running the economy. I'm going back to the expect again. What do you think he's seeking? What is he seeking to advance? Why is it a concern if a government says they have allocated a certain amount of money per particular timeline and they are indeed not? Let's just say indeed wonder. Let's just say the government indeed is not spending. Why does it matter?
Well, I think that when expenditures are voted in Parliament, it is not an event or immediately that the money should be released to the sector. Yes. don't forget that the voting was done based on the fiscal year, January to December.
Yes.
We are currently in September, which means that we still have about 3 months more to go, 4 months more to go. And so the finance minister can decide tomorrow that, okay, there is available. And don't forget that the actual allocation of funds is based on availability of money. And so when the tax revenue is not coming, and we are also not really borrowing, then it means that we are going to defer these expenditures. But if you look at what is going around the country, I was in Ho over the weekend, and I realized that one of the big push projects that was launched, you realize the excavators are all over the place working. Yeah. And for contractors, if you don't give them money, or if there is no, what do we call it, mobilization, they will not go to site. So I think it is too early for us to say, okay, because the voting was done, money has not been allocated, and for that matter, project will not go on. The finance minister can say, okay, we have money in tomorrow. Let's give this amount of money to this contractor. And so till the end of the year, it will be
you
very
cannot have this debate. Okay, well, can you have some patience? We'll have this debate in December.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem. But November, he will have to come with another budget for next year.
That will be for next
year.
In
November,
that will be for next year.
November is just around there.
Yes. It's just 1 month.
Wanda, please take the floor.
More realistically, the Big Push program is targeted at bigger projects. The bigger projects takes time to mature. In fact, if you are even a contractor and you go to sites, you are not due money until you have raised what we call certificates, interim payment certificate, IPC. The IPC process can take you even 2 months to raise, because the process is such that you have experts who come to site to see work done, from what point to what point, what quantity of money was spent, and what is due you. That goes to, if it is true, say road fund, then the road fund administrator has to okay that before it goes, the particular department, if it is urban or just highway, if it is urban highway and feeder roads, any of them, they will pass you. Then you go to road fund okays it before it goes to GOG for payment. That is if it's a GOG project or it's a road fund project. So it takes some time. So even at the time the minister read the budget, before those projects were beginning to take shape, it will take some time for all these things to crystallize. So you don't be in a hurry. The NDC government is not in a hurry. We have 4 years. We have 4 years to deliver good governance. We're not going to be in a hurry to crash this economy, like he said. Their government said they are in a hurry. President Kufuor, even at the very day when he was being sworn, he said he's in a hurry. And we saw how being in a hurry crashed the economy of this country. And we're not going to go there.
Let's talk about the visa restrictions. So the minority in Parliament have been demanding a few things. So one, they say that Ghana should take quite a neutral stand in commenting or making some sort of alignment with the Israel and Palestine war, because naturally that has been our position. We're not a country that have been seen to celebrate one particular position. That's one. Two, you have also been demanding a few explanations from the foreign minister, especially from the deportation, these deportees, and as well purported benefits that we will be enjoying. Now, we woke up to the exciting news for those who like to travel outside the country, and the restriction that struck us earlier this year. Now, you have access to multiple entries and as well the usual 5-year visa that he can grant you, plus some benefits. Are you not going to applaud the foreign minister instead of still demand his blood?
Okay, so let me start from the first question.
Okay.
That indeed, why did we say that indeed major pronouncements do not help the cause of the country? The reason is that you remember even Kwame Nkrumah, he said we are neither facing north nor we are facing east. We are a non-aligned country. And that has been the bedrock of our foreign policy from day one. You remember when President Tata Mills of blessed memory said, Diufiasem, it became an issue. And the experts said that, well, it is in line with our foreign policy orientation, that in Ghana, we are always neutral in things that happened in other countries, because it was a DFIASM. And this is the defense that myself and my brother gave when President Mills said DFIASM concerning the Ivory Coast when they were fighting and they asked him for intervention. Then he said DFIASM because it's in line with our foreign policy orientation. So if you check Ghana's foreign policy from independence, it has been of a non-alignment, even though you can criticize, you can, you can, if there is something that is happening, you can criticize. For instance, the genocide, what is happening in Gaza is something that is condemnable. But when you come clearly to really give some recognition, that is where some people think that, well, we as minority think that the best thing is that let's stay where we are, let's stay within our lane. We are a non-aligned country, and that is the reason we said that, well, moving forward, let's still remain a non-aligned country, just like we started from independence. Again, on the deportation, you see, it is problematic that the NDC government, whenever they are in government, they enter into these treaties, these agreements with the U.S. government. You remember the Gitmo 2. They brought in these Gitmo 2 people in this country. Nana B and a granny called Bamford went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that the thing has already been done. They are already in this country. You cannot deport them again. But moving forward, Article 75 of our Constitution says that any treaty, any agreement that is between government of Ghana and any other government must be ratified by Parliament.
If you give power to a person to take decisions for you, do we allow them some discretionary powers, at least to know that in a very fine, difficult time, they should be able to use that power that you gave them?
Yes, so the powers...
Do you recognize that?
Yes, the powers are controlled. For instance, if you are a CEO and you're supposed to spend up to $1 million and you want to spend more than $1 million, you have to go back to the board for the board to approve. So if you are a minister, you go there and you are taking a decision that is binding on Ghanaians. The Supreme Court, in the ruling, when Nana B and Bamford went to court, is saying that if there is an agreement that is binding between government and government, it must be ratified.
Is time of any essence to you at all?
It must be ratified.
Would you give the minister some credit to say that you're asserting that he knew what he was about and will not put the country... I'm just playing the devil's advocate to not put the country...
Why the haste? Why are we in a haste?
Because deportation of people... It's usually
the
with
Ghanaians, they are not. You remember when Ambassador Idusei was the U.S. ambassador, in the first term of Trump, he decided to deport over 1,000 people who are Ghanaians, who said they are Ghanaians. Ambassador Idusei went there, screened them, and said they are not Ghanaians because nothing shows that they are Ghanaians. We faced restrictions in this country. Government officials were not given visas for 6 months in this country. It happened. Because he said he will not sign. Now the president goes ahead. He is expelling criminals. That is what Trump said. He said whoever commits any heinous crime, he will deport him to his country. And that was his promise.
Immigration, if you violate immigration laws...
He mentioned a lot of things. He said violation of immigration laws. And again, when you engage in any criminal activity, you will be deported to your own country.
But the foreign minister said that they have scanned, they have done what they have to do, due diligence. But I think you have made the point. Let me, I'll come to you, Kisi, because your government is in power. I come to you for the finality. No, you're here. I have to hear them, then you can give me the government's position. It's okay. I'm managing the time.
I'm saying that in essence, you don't go and bring some
that you have made a point.
And make Ghana, make it binding on Ghanaians. What is in for us?
What is in for you?
Yes, what is in for Ghanaians?
We'll ask Wanda. Wanda, please be texting the foreign minister now and let's see if there's something in it for us. But my question to you, Nelson, is that, of course, government's foreign policy, Ghana's foreign policy is that be non-aligned, stay neutral. But yesterday is not today. A lot has changed over the years. We've always said that because of trade, because of exports and imports, many other factors economically, you cannot be seen to say that because you are non-aligned, you cannot. Genocide is genocide anyway. Sure. Do you expect that our current foreign policy, the government should be going according to as it is? Is it strange to you that our president gave that speech?
I am a student of international law. I did a private international law, I think, some few years ago. And so some of these things are a bit difficult to talk about, especially when a United Nations was formed that was supposed to be a rule-based system. but in its strictest sense. And so if in its strictest sense, the United Nations is a rule-based system, it means that no country like Ghana can be afraid to talk about an issue concerning US or any other superpower. But I think that we need to maintain that position as a non-aligned, country. However, the dynamics have changed. I mean, from Kwame Nkrumah's time till today, a lot has changed. Once we keep on saying that, okay, we are not aligned to any bloc, what we mean is that we are still being shelved in our own corner. I think that the president made, I don't know if you have listened to President Mahama and the Prime Minister of Barbados concerning, the current, happenings with the geopolitical happening within the. So clearly you see that countries are now coming out gradually to criticize where criticism is due. Reason why President Mahama used the term, when it is a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's still a duck. And so I think that, yes, we should maintain our non-aligned position, but we shouldn't be scared to talk about things that are going on globally. I mean, if you go to the Gaza Strip, look at the number of people who are dying in a day. I mean, sometimes you ask yourself, like, are they human beings? Because here in Ghana, when somebody dies, it's a lot. But when you go there, people are just falling as if, so we can't continue being in that non-aligned position that we will not talk when it is time for us to talk. And reason why most Ghanaians rated President Mahamad's speech at the UN one of the best. Yeah. In fact, I listened to the full speech of President Mahama and that of the Prime Minister of Barbados. Very fantastic speech, very powerful speech. So I think that, yes, we should maintain our position, but when the criticism is due, we need to come out and talk. And that defines our sovereignty. These days, we talk about economic sovereignty, but I think we need to go beyond that and also talk about political sovereignty. And so once you are able to criticize where criticism is due and also commend where commendation is due, I think, it's a fantastic position. Okay. But to just be in our corner and say, oh, we are scared of Israel, because every year we send a lot of Ghanaian students to Israel for agricultural-related program, medicine-related, and so we will not criticize. The Prime Minister of Israel said that the only position or condition he is, posing is that they should release I think the hostages are about 20.
Hostages,
they should release them. And to the extent that the hostages are not being released, he will keep on firing. And I think it's not good for the global order.
You have it. It's now you have it.
You have the final
you see, sometimes we look at people and we think that they are bold, but they are really not bold. You see, I have watched John Mahama from a distance, and I think that he speaks for himself, how bold he has been over the years. He may be a calm, very quiet speaker and all that, but he speaks where he has to speak. There's no, Nkrumah's prescription of non-alliance did not mean timidity. It also did not mean lies. It also did not mean pretense. Speak to the facts, and that's what John Mahama has done. And when I applaud him for it. We were in this country that a vice president of the U.S., Kamala Harris, came to this country and told our president in the face, Nana Akufo-Addo, that the gay thing, he has to respect it. President Akufo-Addo was not bold enough to even speak before a woman, a lady, who showed up trying to project this LGBTQ at the presidency. So you have leaders who claim...
we have sat down to grant interviews about this many times.
What did he say?
I can't see what you mean by posture. What was he supposed to do?
What did he say? So you tell us what he said. Other than saying that one day to happen. Let him say what he said.
But you that were criticizing it, you are in government, have you? But you that were criticizing LGBT.
It won't happen. We have said it clearly. From the days of President Musso today, we said it will not happen.
So we'll see that.
You see, they are not even going to, they won't even have the courage to rear their ugly heads. If they like, they should try it. But go ahead. I'm saying that with President Mahama's positioning, I think it's the best for this country. We speak truth to power. We speak truth in honesty and in respect. I think he did it very nicely, and I will applaud him for it. I have a direct question about the visa restrictions. Yeah. I'm happy about the multiple entries. Who doesn't want a multiple entry? How many years? Imagine you have 5 years and all. It's really nice. I'm happy about that. But was that always been nice? It's been nice.
Is that what we got in exchange for the deportees? Let's be honest.
No, you see, I think sometimes we miss the point. The U.S. government was clear when the restriction came that people had overstayed. Students who had gone to school finish school to come back, they won't come back. Even government officials who have traveled or whatever of the sort abuse the essence of their visa. I have been to the US a couple of times, but I've always been there on J1 visa. J1 visa is when the US government invites you, you are being paid by the US government and everything. So, and even on those programs, I've had Ghanaians who have run away. One time we were about 11. We came back, only 4 of us arrived back in Ghana. So today, I can't even find the other 7. And it's embarrassing. So these were the basis for which the US government imposed some of these.
And the basis had changed.
You know, and they are there, they are chatting with you and telling you how good life has been and all that. I think they had a legitimate
But has it changed?
concern.
Has it changed?
Has what changed?
So,
No,
do you
it's
now
not
find
stricter.
people going and coming back?
Now things are a bit stricter. So you can't do that easily. Some even get pregnant, go to give birth in the US, all because they want their children to become US citizens. I think that we sometimes also cheapen ourselves in some of these issues. You want your child to be a US citizen, go to the right route.
What did we do?
What is all
I
this
don't think
business
there's
about?
free lunch. What did we do to get the reversal of the
No, they have
restriction?
there have been a lot of engagements over the period, high-level engagements, as stated by the US government themselves in their press release, both their own and that of the minister's release. People are linking it to we accepting some of these deportees.
Is that a possibility?
But the deportees,
Is there a possibility?
If it is a bargain, I don't know. But what I know is that diplomatic ties are always changing every now and then, and people will always make offers. If the offers are good, if it's not good, fine. What did Ghana gain? What did we lose by accepting these deportees? These deportees were West African citizens, and by our own constitution, by our own ECOWAS protocols, they are allowed to be in our country for 90 days.
But you are
and
very
the US government, no, hold on. The US government
No,
did
the
not say,
ECOWAS thing is for visa when you have applied for visa and you have come into the country.
No,
it's
it's
not.
not.
It's not when you have been deported. Show me which law that says
I'm
that
not
if you have
saying
been
that-
deported.
No, I'm not saying when you have been deported. They are citizens.
They're
right?
citizens of what?
Citizens of West African origin, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, and all that. And they have a right to enter this country for 90 days and go back to wherever they are going back to. Now, they were in Ghana.
Under
not
the
deported.
same
Hold on,
circumstances?
Not deported.
Hold on.
Is this right? Is this for those
Just if you listen to me, you'll get the point. And I'm saying that they have a right to be in your country 90 days. As to whether they are criminals, they are deportees, and whatever of the sort, it's a different matter altogether to be settled. And they were not here to come and stay in Ghana. They were here as transit
They
to
sued
their
us.
country. Number
They
two,
sued us
the
that we were
US,
sending them to a
embassy in
country that
Ghana
they don't want.
was supposed to facilitate their going back to their countries. Now you're talking about 34,000 deportees across the US. 34,000, if I'm to process their return to their various countries, it will take me years. And this thing needs to be shared among the various embassies. So Ghana was picked for West Africa, Eswatini and co were picked for Southern Africa, right? The Rwanda and co were for
they
Central
picked or
Africa.
government of Ghana had to say that I'm interested?
No, to defeat the argument that we accepted these deportees so that the visa will be restricted, was Rwanda also restricted? Was Eswatini also restricted? So the argument doesn't wash. Those other countries that accepted to receive the deportees for onward, transfer to their various countries, were they also on the visa
Why didn't they
restrictions
accept
of
them
the
in
US?
the first place?
They all accepted it. People went to Rwanda, people went to Eswatini, people came to Ghana and all that. So
But would it be a problem if indeed it is one of the reasons
It's
why-
not going to be a problem at all.
It's not going to be a problem.
No, because
then
it's of no
there's always
cost
a
to Ghana.
bargain, right?
Yes. It's of no cost to Ghana.
It's of no cost. to
Yeah,
Ghana.
it's of no cost. It's not like we benefited from some reward or some financial gain and all that. We never benefited. So I don't know where
Someone is being deported to
I have
this country.
3 minutes when
the
I have to
country
distribute
says,
it
the
one-
country
1
says,
minute.
I don't need him. He's not from my country. I don't need him. Then you go and bring him to Ghana because you think that when he comes to Ghana, there is free movement of.
It's not that he thinks that it is what it is.
You understand? And again, you see, the Supreme Court has a pronouncement that if it's an agreement between Ghana government and them.
Don't talk law on this program.
So
let
you
me
understand?
Talk law.
Why?
Then there's
Why?
Article 75
Why?
of the Constitution.
Yes.
It's clear
That what?
that when government enters into treaty agreements,
Yes.
they never mention MOU if you care to know. And in
What is that?
care to know if you care.
That's in nomenclature.
MOUs in Ghana are not exactly binding.
But you see,
until certain moves.
it is because of this
Now-
ambiguity that Supreme Court's decision said that every
It didn't
agreement
say every.
at all.
It didn't say
What did it say?
What did he say?
I can give you a step. It says if it relates to security, it mentioned exactly what it is. It never said
So
every
this one
agreement.
is not related to
I'm going to. I'll show you.
When the country is saying that
Go
they
on
are
with the
rejecting
program.
the
I'll
people,
prove it to you.
someone
I'll
is
let him-
rejecting
I'll let
his
him
kids
fetch.
and kin.
Don't do it.
For instance, you are an Ewe. We see someone outside. Then he says, I'm aware, he speaks aware. He said, I don't want to accommodate him. Then I say, okay, well, because he's a Ghanaian, let me just accommodate him.
Okay.
I send him to the
Nelson,
house, and my wife will have to cry out loud. Ghanaians must ask Okujeto Ablaka, what is in for us that we can even go? You see,
people always thinking of what is in.
You see,
There's always your plan.
I will not sit here and say I am not happy because even business people have really cried out because they are saying that you cannot enter US and come back and do your business because of the restrictions and so on. So it's a good thing. But how did you even get there? How did we get the ban? It was the diplomatic force pass that the Okujeto Ablakwa engaged with the US, and that is the reason we were added as part of the restrictions.
Well, for me, I believe that to the extent that those deportees are not having any criminal background. I mean, if you look at the entire sub-region, I mean, the sub-region is a bit unstable. And to the extent that those deportees don't have any criminal background, I don't think there is an issue there. In fact,
who authenticated it? That they don't have criminal background.
From that
That's the problem. It's Okujeto who authenticated it.
The Gitmo to that we receive. I mean, if you look at the reason behind the deportation, I think some overstayed their visa and some other, I mean, so to the extent that they don't have any criminal background, that will pose any security threat to the country.
That will be fine.
I mean, for me, I mean, and since they are also West African citizens, I mean.
But their countries rejected them. That's my point.
Well, this is the end of the news review. Wanda is still finding the part that.
No, it's just that
if you don't find, I will fetch it for you, of course, and you send it to me. Yeah, I will fetch it for you as well. But this is how we end a news review. Wanda, just 30 seconds for you because you spend the time looking for something.
Oh, no.
That's it. All right. Do stay with us. Do stay with us. This is the AM show. That's more on the show.